Hi and welcome to Kassenzone with Karo and Alex live from the OMR. Why am I speaking English? It's because we have a very, very exciting guest that we're extremely looking forward to get to know, and also the business model he's working for. I'm extremely excited to talk to you today, Peter Pernot-Day from SHEIN. Welcome.
Hey, thanks so much for having us. We're really excited to be here. It's great to be in Hamburg at OMR and thrilled to share a little bit about how SHEIN is disrupting retail fashion.
Is it your first time in Hamburg?
This is my first time in Hamburg, and it is beautiful. I can't believe I have not been here before. No. So definitely hoping to come back soon. It just got such a nice vibe and beautiful scenery.
In Germany, we actually say Hamburg is the most beautiful city in Germany. So I'm very happy that you feel the same way. Peter, we are so excited to talk to you today because in the German retail scene, there's a very heated discussion going on whether the business models of SHEIN, first of all, they're always put in one bucket, SHEIN, Temu, and TikTok Shop. And the second, there's a heated discussion that they are disrupting our retail scene at the moment at the cost of the planet and so on. That's why we are so happy that we get the chance to really deep dive together with you and really understand the business model and the logics behind it, and also your view on our German market. So welcome again from my side, but why don't we start with a short introduction of yourself and what you actually do at SHEIN?
So I am on the strategy team at SHEIN, and part of my job as a member of our executive leadership team is to identify strategic opportunities and challenges that we face and to address those. One of the biggest challenges that we face is a huge misunderstanding about our business model and how it works and how, frankly, it's revolutionized retail. And let me just explain it a little bit to your listeners. What we do is take large-scale test and learn to the next level. So instead of producing tens of thousands of items on a seasonal schedule, we'll produce maybe 100 copies of a particular garment. We'll put it onto our website and we'll see if customers respond to it. If they do, and they like that design, they resonate with that design, we've seen what I call a demand signal. Only then will we start to produce more. But even with that additional production, it's usually only 300 copies of a particular item. It's very small batch. And we do this because we want to give our customers lots of options. I resonate with black t-shirts. I resonate with brown dresses. I really want to wear pants that have a particular fit. All of these things are ways we can engage our customers in an ongoing conversation, and we can connect them with our designers close to real time. It gives us enormous flexibility, and it really puts our customers at the center of our business in a way that I think e-commerce has been missing, frankly.
How many SKUs are at any time available at the website?
So the way we divide up our products is into two buckets. There's SKUs, which tend to vary by very minor changes, and then there are categories. And so for the categories, we have a much smaller number. It's in the hundreds, but for SKUs, it could be in the thousands per day. So there's lots of options, but the core categories of garments and their architecture themselves doesn't change that much across categories.
And how many products overall are listed online at any given time?
It would really depend. I'd say up to 1 million, sometimes 1.5 million SKUs per day are available.
And all of them are like produced by factories you own or you control, or is it like third-party SKUs also available?
We work almost exclusively with small and medium-sized third-party producers who we connect digitally through our digital merchant management system.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe just for reference, I believe About You has 600,000 SKUs listed.
Who? About You? 600,000.
Yeah, around 600,000. Yeah.
And you say like 1 million, but this is changing because changing any day because you test out like 3, 4, 5,000. I think that was a number you were given at the K5 conference last year, more or less. So within like 100, 200 days, there's like a huge change of the whole assortment.
The idea is to conduct essentially a large A/B test. So we're giving lots of options, but there are not many physical products behind each option. So there isn't tremendous waste. And the way that this has worked for us is it's allowed us to essentially carry no inventory, but to engage in this conversation through this A/B test with the customer.
But the 100, 200 pieces per SKU, this is on your balance sheet. So you own the risk of those pieces.
That's correct. We take custody of those goods. They're centralized in our warehouse, and we ship them from our warehouse to the end consumer wherever they may be.
So your business model can be rather compared to the Zara business model, which is like end-to-end vertically integrated, and not so much to the Zalando business model, for example.
That's right. So we do have a smaller marketplace offering, which we've stood up in the last couple of years, but the overwhelming majority of our business is, I would say, readily identifiable to traditional retailers. They're our own branded products and our own design products.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Can you go back a bit in the history? You're a bit older, or SHEIN is a bit older than Temu, which had a big splash in Europe last year. So you're around for a couple of more years, but fast backward, last 10 years. So what is the core story?
So SHEIN has got a great story. So we were founded in Nanjing, China in 2011 by our founder, Sky Zhu. And Sky had this idea of selling wedding dresses from China to customers in the European Union and the United States. And wedding dresses are one of a very interesting category of products because the customers for wedding dresses demand a degree of uniqueness, a degree of individuality, almost a platform to self-express, if you will, through their wedding dresses. And his experience of selling wedding dresses to American and European customers is really what inspired what we call this on-demand business model, where you're making very small batches of products, you're offering them in a sort of test and learn way through this A/B test, and then you're responding with larger production if you get a hit. And that's what he's taken globally. So we don't currently have any customers in China, and we sell almost exclusively into the European Union and the United States,
but
which are our largest markets.
Is that actually?
When Sky looked at the business situation in China when we launched the business, he saw that it was dominated by Ali, by JD.com, and to a lesser degree by PDD, the parent company of Temu. And he said, why don't I take some of these learnings of this next generation e-commerce, which has dominated China for the last 10 years, let's bring it, to him overseas. And so really from our founding, we've had this sort of global vision of how do you engage with customers around the world? And it's changed the way that we do business. We do business in a much more sort of global, multinational way than I think other companies in the past have done. And it's really given us this cross-cultural feature, this understanding, this ability to communicate with customers in multiple countries that I think sets us apart, in addition to our on-demand model.
And when you say the next generation e-commerce that you were talking about, that's been around in China for almost 10 years, you said, here in Germany, we feel like, or at least lots of retailers say that that the audiences are not the same, right? So SHEIN, for example, would not be a competition for a heritage German retailer because it's just different audiences. I disagree because I basically see what's going on in the house that I live in, where I take parcels for my neighbors, and that's from those Asian players. But I still want to understand, is there a need for adaptation of the mechanics, how that this next generation e-commerce works in Asia for the German market, or is it basically the same?
I'm going to take a little bit of a step back, but bear with me because I'm going to answer this question. I think that when you look at physical retail, it has one principal advantage, and that is it's immersive. You go into a store, you can see a mannequin who's got an entire outfit, and maybe you went in there with the idea of buying a t-shirt, and you come out with a pair of pants and a belt and a scarf in addition to the t-shirt, because you were exposed and you could see yourself in these other clothes, these other options, these other product categories. E-commerce has never been able to replicate that. But what if it could? And I think that question of what if it could is what's driving our success. Rather than have a high intention search platform where I know I want a t-shirt, I type in t-shirt, I get a lot of t-shirts. What if I had a platform that was recommending products that were similar to t-shirts, or that complemented t-shirts, or that other people who bought t-shirts liked?
Or what truly curated t-shirts.
Or a curated collection, or something that had trend awareness. All of these things are products that we think customers want, and we want to add them into our web shopping experience so that it's a truly immersive experience. Now, will it ever...
So it's working more like a product feed you're scrolling through?
Exactly, like a product feed using a recommender system that we built ourselves to try to engage customers more in conversation to create more curated looks. And now this is never going to replace physical retail in our view, but it is something that makes e-commerce much more engaging, much more of a destination, something that's fun to do rather than just a functional tool of, well, it was cheaper on the e-commerce platform than it was in the shop.
Can we maybe stick like for a minute on the physical retail quote? Because there are some pop-up stores with a SHEIN brand on top, and like in other countries, Mexico, so I see like in cheap shopping streets, not like a pop-up store, like, but stores like with a SHEIN label on top. So how is this working? Are these like independent importers like getting stuff from SHEIN in? So can you enlighten us here?
Yeah, absolutely. So the easiest answer is the Mexican stores are not authorized. So those are illegal service providers, and we try to take legal action to stop that.
So you don't want that?
Yeah, those are not official SHEIN stores, and we are aware that has happened in a number of cases. And when we find it, we take legal action to try to stop that. The pop-up question, I think, is much more interesting, which is around why do we use ephemeral retail? And I call it ephemeral because it's this momentary engagement with the customer. And I think this speaks to our view that omni-channel is really the future, and that you have to have a tightly integrated platform of engagements. And for us, that means this sort of ephemeral pop-up shop. You go in, you can spend the weekend, you can have a little party atmosphere, you can see the brand iconography.
But you close those shops after a couple of weeks.
Exactly, because they're meant to be ephemeral. And then that experience with the ephemeral retail will drive them to our primary storefront, which is the e-commerce platform.
So you would say, let's take a city like Hamburg, and I think you opened up a store in the Alster-Einkaufszentrum or so, or
yes, for five days.
Yeah, 5 days. So you're looking at omnichannel the way that you say, okay, primary is like online, and online is primarily like the mobile app, not the desktop desktop shop. But like from time to time, maybe like once a year, you might open like a pop-up store.
I think it's going to be more than once a year. You know, I'd say in the German, exactly. I'd say in the German market there will probably be a number. I mean, I don't have the specific number in front of me today, but in Europe last year we did 40 across the continent.
But like just in one city, like
we'll go from city to city.
But would you go like more than once a year in Hamburg in one city?
Probably not, because I think that robs it of its evocativeness or its momentariness.
It's interesting because the German retailers that basically all of them, except About You and Zalando, they also go for an omni-channel strategy. But I feel like only because they have the stationary heritage and they can't really go without. But you really do believe for like offline experiences as a scalable add-on to your growth strategy?
Yeah, that's right. So the way that let's say a traditional physical retailer might have an e-com as an add-on or a service maybe, but they're hoping to drive traffic to the physical location. We're doing it in the converse. Is we're having a physical manifestation of an e-commerce platform.
To be honest, I wouldn't call it like omni-channel, because like for me it's kind of a marketing campaign. So because it's just 5 days, a marketing campaign. You could also sponsor like a big ad in a football stadium.
Sure.
This drives more traffic to the to the website.
Sure, but I mean, a physical retail facility is itself a marketing opportunity. I mean, any type of commercial engagement.
Yeah, but in the old world of retail, this marketing channel was meant to earn some money. So, which is like harder and harder now, not because of SHEIN, but like physical retail stores hardly earn any money anymore for the retailers that are not owning the brand.
What you're pointing out is an interesting anecdote, but I think it speaks more to how do you engage customers such that they want to convert into a sale.
Yeah.
And was the platform e-commerce? Was the platform a pop-up shop? Was it a physical retail shop? Was it an advertisement? The objective is the same, which is we want our customers to be able to find something they like and make a purchase.
Obviously, you are around here now for some time, like 2-3 years at least. Like that it pops up in discussions within the expert.
We've been in Germany since 2015.
Yeah, but like for like 2 or 3 years, it's like it's
our growth is really accelerated.
It's really feasible.
Yeah.
But then when like the discussions around the business model starts, it's always it's it's so cheap and stuff comes with an airplane that cannot be sustainable. That there must be something in the business model which is like unfair or an unfair advantage, because let's take a normal dress, which you would sell for $5. The same dress would be sold at Piken Kloppenburg from, I don't know, even like a low entry price brand for like $20, $25. And then if you like talk to the brands would say, that's not possible. Nobody can produce it like in China and like transport it to the end customer because you don't have anything in between. There must be something in the business model which is not fair, or at least they don't pay all the taxes, all the stuff. That's like, I would say 80% all the discussions, if you go out here, discuss like Shein or Temu, that's about it. So they will always come down, must be unfair, should be forbidden. So what's your answer there?
So I think first off, we have a very different business model than Temu. So setting aside Temu's sort of intermediate layer business model and their direct to factory to customer, our model is really about the power of taking digital tools to optimize a supply chain to deliver extreme savings to customers. And the way that we do that is principally through getting rid of inventory. So because we are so tightly tied to actual demand, we're essentially a sell-through business. And that means that we don't have to carry inventory risk on our products, which alone will lower the cost of goods sold per item by 20 to 30%. So I think as brands consider their strategies, if they look at this better alignment of demand and supply, they can realize very significant savings. Now, add on to that, we're e-com only. We don't have a physical retail network. We have very limited branding. We rely pretty heavily on marketing through social media and using micro influencers, not big name influencers or big name brands.
But you're a big spender on Facebook, Meta, and the Google ad system.
We advertise on Meta, we advertise on TikTok, we advertise on Snap, and we advertise on Discord. We advertise on many, many social platforms.
But you're spending billions. It's not low. It's not like low investment.
I think you're confusing us with Temu. Temu spends quite a bit on those platforms, and our spending has relatively stayed static over the last several years. As we are not as reliant on massive advertising spend to drive value, and the lifetime value of our customers is increasing. And I think the reason why is the reason you pointed out to, is our products are high quality for the price. Customers are getting value from our product offerings, and they're coming back more and more and more.
What we observe is that I have to name Temu again. That the app has a way of engaging with the consumer like German retailers are not able to at the moment. The user experience in a way is so addictive because it's hyper personalized. It's very gamified, and it really pulls you in the app. Is that the same for Shein? How would you describe actually, or what's the reason behind your consumers coming back and coming back and coming back?
So I think the first and most important is value for money. I mean, our clothes are attractively priced and they're very high quality for what you get. So I think that is the first thing that drives customer loyalty. And I think for any business, to me, that's the analog part of the business. Are you making good stuff? We make good stuff. I think the second part is about how do you have an immersive shopping experience? As I was talking about earlier, how do you engage customers so that they want to see more and more products, so that there is almost a feed and they can go to the site and see themselves in clothes and look at lots of options? All of those things are key elements of our success. I think the final one is that we do a very, very good job of leveraging first-party data. So as our customer base has grown, we've been able to leverage our data that we have on our customers that's responsibly collected and controlled by our privacy policies, but we're able to use that to understand insights and to further refine our product offering, further refine our website to see what resonates.
So leading to new SKUs, ideas, for example.
New SKUs and equipping our designers to understand, okay, this is what's trending, not because we saw it on a runway in Paris or we saw it over here, but because it's what our customers seem to be looking for.
Can we go back a bit, like in decomposing like the price advantage? So 20-30% you would say is because of no inventory risk.
Yeah,
this
exactly.
This is kind of the inventory, like big retailers like Zara would have to do like discount campaigns, whatever, or like throw it away. This is like 20-30%. And then you said no retail stores means retail stores. If you were to add like retail stores in your business model, owned retail stores like an Inditex, for example, or others, this adds like massive costs because you need to stock stores, build stores, hire personnel for it, like adding up maybe another 20% price advantage on top. What's the other ones?
So I think the other one is sort of the ultra efficient business model itself. So what we've done, and I think sets us apart in a way, is we've built a custom merchant system. And this custom merchant system is a piece of software that connects our entire supply chain and allows us to get the pricing advantages of vertical integration while maintaining third-party relationships with suppliers. So this has allowed us to help our cut, measure, and trim factories acquire fabric from mills at significant savings because we can essentially bulk order across the platform.
Okay, and like usually like a factory would have ordered themselves from milk like this the fabric, and you're like putting this all now together, like adding another 5-10%, just
exactly
typical economies of scale coming behind. So that like without any magic, let's say there's like pure 60 to maybe even 80% price advantage for the same product. Like could be the same product like on another channel for Zara. Your business model is able to offer this product for an 80% discount or price advantage.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have very competitive pricing advantages. I think the other thing though that we don't do is we don't subsidize the process. So we are profitable, and we've been profitable since 2015, and we're able to get margins on a per unit basis, even with the current business practices we have. So
including logistics to the end consumer?
Including logistics, yeah. So I think that the scale of our operation tied to these very tightly and digitized organizational optimizations that we've made have allowed us to achieve profitability while competing on price.
I think it's like the other part of the discussions were like, how much does it cost like to ship like a box from China, where usually you have to pack and aggregate like all the products that are ordered like on the SHEIN platform to the consumers. And I think like 1 year ago when you were at the K5, the consensus was, that must be like 20 euros because that's the price European companies would have to pay like for a shipment from Europe to China. But now it came down to somewhere between $5 to $8, like depending on how heavy the box is. Mm-hmm. Is there any data you can share with us? So how expensive is it to ship from China, from factory to consumer?
I can't share specific numbers, but I can tell you why we're able to compete on price when it comes to shipping. One is we use this digital model to carefully aggregate shipping so that we can optimize deliveries into one particular shipping unit. That lowers costs. We also tend to ship relatively low weight products. So we don't have heavy packaging. Our products tend to be lighter weight clothing items. And so the overall bulk weight of these shipments may be lower in a palletized container than what you might see from potentially other retailers. I don't know who you were talking to at K5, but that is one set of advantages. And so we can say, hey, air service provider, we're going to have essentially a plane full of material that we're going to bring in, and that will realize some savings for us. The other thing that we've done to lower our costs is to invest in return and refulfillment centers in Europe. So we've built one in Poland that's quite substantial, and this allows us to further reduce costs because returns are processed through Poland. And if there's an item that we can replace into inventory, we can do that through this Polish warehouse.
How many items are replaceable actually?
A pretty fair number. I mean, we want to do careful quality checks. So we want to make sure it's in resellable condition. And once that's the case, we will circle those products through. And it can be quite substantial. The warehouse in Poland is very significant.
And do you also think about more localizing also the production? Because we have to tap into the topic of sustainability.
Yeah.
And probably first one should address consumption in general, but the next point on the agenda would always be to produce and sell, or from a consumer's perspective, buy as local as possible. Mm-hmm. So is that also part of your strategy to maybe go to Portugal, Turkey, or does that not have a place in the P&L that we just ran through?
So one of the benefits of having this digital merchant system is it's geographically flexible. So we've been able to launch supplier partnerships in Turkey, for example, to manufacture garments that will be sold into the European Union. And that will significantly lower both the air freight costs, but also the environmental impact of our business model. And so I think that's a classic example of what we're doing. We're doing the same thing in Brazil. We've been looking at the same thing in India. I do think, though, that it's important for us as a global brand to measure our impacts and to be accountable for our impacts. And we've taken a number of steps to try to improve and reduce our overall emissions. I think that's work that we're focused on and continuing to work on. We've taken the approach that it's sort of a 3-bucket problem. There's the inputs, the material that we use. There's the production itself, which I would say is sort of the traditional zone of responsibility, but I think we now see it's broader. And then there's the end of life of the garments. On the front end, the material, we've been looking at using preferred materials that have a broader mix of recycled or responsibly sourced, less impactful products. And we've got a partnership with Queen of Raw to use dead stock. We've got our Evolution by Design standard, which features 30% post-consumer waste material. And then we've also been looking at other materials that are, would say, like next generation fibers and fabrics. And that work, I think, is really, really exciting to see how that's going to go. More needs to be done, but that input piece is something we've spent a lot of time on. Our production model itself, I think, actually has something to say in the conversation because it's so low waste. I mean, we're producing just enough to meet actual measured demand instead of producing 1,000 or 10,000 copies of an item. And that means that our overall waste in production is very minimal. Go ahead. Yeah.
I'm not yet a SHEIN customer, but when it comes to like production quality, when I'm listening to people talking about like SHEIN, let's say here somebody like von Zalando or Peek & Kloppenburg would be in the same room. They would say, no, that's not good quality. The stuff, the average stuff you can buy, there's like really, really low quality, and you should not wear it. To be honest, I cannot judge it. So, but I'm pretty sure somebody else asked you this question already. So, what's your answer to this, or how do you look at this?
I think our business would not be successful if we didn't offer value for money and if we didn't offer high quality clothing. I think that our clothes are as high quality as many other producers on the high street. And I think that what people equate price with quality in a way that I just don't think is fair. Now, are there misses and are there quality misses? A business of our size? Absolutely, there are times when that happens. But I think overall, our garments are worn by our customers longer. They're made from better materials and they look great on our customers. And I think that's why they come back year after year, month after month to engage with the platform.
So could it be like a biased bubble that is like enforcing this like arguments again and again? And because what you're essentially saying is, look at our business success. There's customers buying again and again and again. Otherwise, you could not be afford to stay in the business. If this was true, if the quality was so bad, no customer would buy again. Is this correct?
That's
essentially how you would respond to that.
I mean, that's what the evidence would suggest. Is we would not be growing as a business if we were selling low quality garments. People would not come back. I mean, they might buy one or two things, realize that it's not high quality, and they wouldn't come back. But
and like going back to this argument that your merchant system is globally flexible. So that's like another discussion we had a lot here in the European market. So is there like a decent factory ecosystem still that is still able to produce stuff like for the demand in Europe? Is it sizable, or is it just like compared to like Chinese or Asian production capacity only like 1% or so? Because it's still like the hope you're hearing in those discussions. Yeah, if this only was produced in Turkey or Portugal, then everything would be fine. Like when I'm talking like to people that produce in Portugal and say, okay, like Alex tried to produce a pair of sneakers in Europe, there's maybe 2 or 3 factories that are available to produce it, and you're getting an answer back from one factory that is willing to produce it. So it seemed that there's no production capacity at all left.
You know, it's an interesting point because for the last 40 years, let's say, there's been this tremendous concentration of the garment industry, footwear industry, and even just the materials to make these products in southeastern China. And you're starting to see that diversify, but it still is a really unique place to make clothes. And so I heard
that even the machines are produced in those places.
I would say it's like almost a global center of excellence. You've got a talented workforce, you've got the infrastructure. To your point, the company that makes the sewing machines is down the street, the company that makes the needles is next door, the company that repairs them is right there. And so there's this tremendous ecosystem that is really the product of globalization strategies stretching back to the 70s. The question now is, where can that scale be replicated? I'm really bullish on Turkey. I'm really bullish on Brazil. I think there are other markets where that's possible, but it is not something that's a light switch.
Okay.
I think we have to adjust as an industry to think this is going to take time to not necessarily move out of China, but to rebalance supply chains in light of the climate crisis.
If you, I mean, you've been in the German market for over than 8 years now, right? So that's quite a long time. If you, for example, give a strategy update on your successes in internationalization, what's your view on Germany? How do you see the German market compared to maybe other European markets?
One of the things that I love about the German market is it's a challenging market. and what do you mean by that? Why do you want to be in a challenging market? There are tough questions that are asked of us, both by the government and by the media. And I think those questions make us a better brand. And so I welcome them. I love to come to events like OMR. I love to talk to other stakeholders and hear, this is a different way to think about the problem, or why aren't you doing this? And those are the types of questions that a brand as ambitious as we are, which is we want to make fashion accessible to everyone. They're actually gold. And so I love being in the German market. We also have great customers here, and we've grown year over year in this market. And I look forward to continuing to grow and engage here.
But then you've also experienced, like, the last years, they were quite rough, after Corona, when everybody thought, the online growth would just simply continue as it did during COVID. Then the massive overstocks. Now it seems like fashion can only be sold with heavy discounts. Is that actually tailwind for you because of your offering of value for money clothing, or do you also experience like difficulties in selling?
I think the retail business is brutal. So you're always going to have a hard time making that sale and connecting with that customer. That said, we've been remarkably successful because we don't have this inventory problem. And that allows us to offer clothes at really significant savings, which, as costs of living have gone up across the European Union, across the United States, that's something that resonates with customers. Is we've maintained stable pricing.
Maybe I've been not prepared good enough, but can we go back to this one question? So why are you not selling in China? Because like, if this is all working out so good, like, and you're able actually to ship for like a very competitive price into like Europe and the US, it must be even more affordable in China. So why aren't you selling there?
I mean, you never say never with a brand as agile as we are, but I think what we've seen is that market has tremendous industry leaders, and we don't need or feel the need to compete with them. We're competing for European and American customers.
Okay, because like you've referred to JD and Alibaba, and they lost a lot of market share to Pinduoduo, Douyin, Kavi last years. But you say, okay, it's like with the setup you're in, like, and you need to focus. Obviously, you cannot do everything at the same time.
Exactly.
The US market and the European market are just like more attractive for business expansion.
I mean, we have over, I would say, close to 3,000 employees in the United States, the European Union, and Brazil alone. And the idea is to try to globalize the brand and to localize it further. That was part of the reason why we moved the headquarters to Singapore. And I think there's enormous opportunities in these markets that we've yet to even just dip our toes into. I really think the future for us is bright in these markets we're already in, and I'd like to focus on those markets first.
And you said like in the German market, you're facing like tough questions, tough discussions. So is it very different in the US or Brazil if you go there, because you're disrupting the retail industry also in those markets?
No,
but are the questions different?
We get asked tough questions by thoughtful people and governments in all of our major markets, and it's absolutely appropriate that we do so. We have a lot to learn. We're still a relatively young company, and ways in which we do business sometimes need to be challenged or need to be explained, or misperceptions need to be corrected.
Okay. And then I'd like to ask like the question I wanted to ask you already at the K5 last year. If you were head of strategy for Zalando, what would be your recommendation?
Well, if they were to hire me and to have me on their team, I would have to look into their business. I'm not that familiar with it. I can't.
Then you're not
sure. Specific.
Know the business. That's not true.
I can't give you a specific answer. I just don't know the business well enough.
Okay, it's a standard online retailer. They're just like owning most of the inventory, like selling stuff from other brands. What? Because that's what we are. This question is asked like towards us. So what's like Zalando's about you? Speaking Kloppenburg's answer, and then the answer they're coming up with, yes, we need to also think about like a reintegrated supply chain. Maybe we have to do the same with like European factories where we just like worked out there's not too many you can work with, and building your merchant OS. I would tell us that's not an easy task. That's nothing you can do like in 12 months or so and just roll it out. So it's kind of a hard to come by competitive advantage. So that's like, it's not a trick question. So it's really something where I would hear your opinion, because I'm pretty sure all the retailer you're seeing in the other countries will get asked this question. So does it make sense to own inventory, to own the inventory risk anymore? Because that's my takeaway. Owning inventory, it's like a hot potato. Nobody wants to catch it. So you should get the risk off of your balance sheet.
I think, from a general perspective, the more risk you can offload as a business, the more successful you'll be. That said, I think the one piece of advice I'd give any retailer is don't assume that your business can benefit from what I would call customs duties. Our business is about customers, not customs. And there's a lot of misunderstanding about how our business operates. It assumes it's because of lower duties or lower customs imports or other claims of tax avoidance. The World Postal
contract was last year's biggest assumption.
Exactly. And I think that's just a faulty assumption. Our business does not depend on that. The key that we've been successful for is this really dynamic, operationally efficient, on-demand model. That's what drives our success. That's what lowers our costs.
Can you give us a little bit more insight on actually how your organization is set up? Because
Sure.
I believe that it's probably a big black box.
And more numbers.
Lots of listeners.
So the company is headquartered in Singapore. Our CEO is there. Our CFO is there. Many other global executives are there. We then have operations in China, and these would be mostly logistics and operations of that sort that are handling it's a very significant logistics operation to handle all of this inventory that we do take in, even though it moves quickly through our custody. And I think we have global teams that are in Europe. Obviously, Dublin, Ireland is our headquarters there, and we have some European-wide executives based in Dublin. And then you've got a couple of American executives. I'm one of them. You've got our board of directors. Our chairman, Donald Tang, is based in the United States. Then we have some leaders in Brazil. So Marcel Klauer, who splits his time between the U.S. and Brazil, is our head of the Latin American operation. So a relatively global team of executives that are coming together to lead this out of Singapore. There is no Pian-Duodo version of SHEIN operating in China. There's no ByteDance version of SHEIN operating in China. We're based in Singapore.
And then are there like local marketing teams that, for
Absolutely.
example,
So we've got a team in Berlin, about 20 people now, and we're trying to grow that and scale that. We've got a team in Paris. We've got a growing team in Milan, Italy. We're looking to grow a team in Madrid. Obviously, we have a large team in London and a team in Ireland. So we're looking at these opportunities to expand in the European market. Our biggest headcount, though, is going to be the warehouse in Poland, which is in Wrocław, Poland. And that's a significant chunk of our European team.
And so one advantage of the business model you're running, the way you're running your app is, from my perspective, is that you don't rely on Google and Meta anymore to get the customer back in your app, because you have such an engaging way with the customer. So the customer might come back like every day or every week. So you just open the app. Like most of the other retailers have a model where they're happy with like 4 purchases a year from the platform, but every time for this purchase they have to pay like a 20% tax to Meta or to Google. Is this true? And if this is true, can you tell us a bit more, like how much time people spend in your app, and how do you do? Is it really that they're opening up like every day or every week? So
it really depends on the country, and it depends on the customer. I'd say that it's not uncommon for people to engage with the app 2 or 3 times a week. I would say averages are around 8 minutes per engagement. So not huge numbers, and it's not a social media platform. I mean, it's not where, people are spending hours and hours.
And you don't have like the competitors like a fishing game or like a Wheel of Fortune in it.
We do some gamification, but it's not as, I would say, aggressive as some other competitors. There are elements of that though, and we definitely want to try to reward loyalty. So we do loyalty points, and we give points that can be converted to value on the app. But I would say that looking at the intentionality of e-commerce, I think what's defined e-commerce for the past, let's just say 10, maybe even 15 years is I saw something in the physical world. I know that I want that thing. I'm going to now search for it online, either through Google or through Amazon or whatever, and I'm going to get it back. And I call that high intention search. We're trying to break that model towards having high engagement experiences. And that, I think, is what we're focused on for the future. How do you get customers to think of you the same way they would think of a retail store in the past?
And would this also work for other products, not only fashion? Would it work for household stuff or so?
I think it has broad application. And I think there are different challenges. If you're in the furniture business, it's really tough to recreate that experience of going into a retailer and there's a little living room there. But, we've been disrupted in the past, and I think disruption will continue in our industry.
Yeah, I think to me, the only advantage that offline retail actually had or still has towards online is that it's not that you go and find a t-shirt, but you go out on a shopping spree and you do not want to buy anything and you don't know what you're going to buy, but you're going to buy something and you're going to be so happy.
Yeah.
And that's what's online, at least in Germany, is not, it's simply not happening. We were speaking about the numerous lists of t-shirts that are not curated, not personalized, and so on. But what are, maybe also speaking from a more technological or marketing perspective, what are your next big bets when it comes to customer experience? What's going to drive your growth even further?
So I think one of the things that we do really well at the moment, and I think is going to continue to drive growth as it catches on, is photo search. Mm-hmm. And so as photo search. So I'm cruising around the street, to your example, and I see an outfit that I think is just on fire. I can take a photo of that outfit or that look, and it will automatically search the SHEIN collections, and we will return items in our collection that will match that. And we're continuing to refine photo search to make it better and more adept at identifying unique items, so that, we could take a photo of me and we could say, oh, he's wearing a watch. These are watches that might, also be available on the platform through our marketplace sellers. All of these things are items that we're trying to integrate to make the shopping experience more.
But isn't it also intentional, or how do you call it? Like intentional search, like it's like an external. You're waiting for an external signal for people that want to buy something, and then they're opening the app.
Yeah. So, for example, I go into, let's say, a physical retail shop that's selling men's suits, and I'm immediately confronted with a model that's wearing a navy blue suit and has a tie and a striped shirt, and I say, wow, I want that. I'm in the retail shop. I can engage with their product offering to see if they have my sizes. Photo search is the same concept, except everyone's the model. So I take a look at someone on the street and I say, wow, that's what I want to look like today. I open the SHEIN app, I take a photo of it, voila.
And is this something which you could consider doing outside of the SHEIN platform? Because it could be a feature for, like, let's say, Instagram. And then when people Instagram was willing to implement it in their ecosystem, like with an kickback payment or so for SHEIN, because that's where people are looking at photos with people wearing clothes.
I mean, I think that I'm not an expert on Meta's sales platforms, but I do think that they have features of that where you can tag items in
it's very manual, very.
Yeah. I think another area that we're experimenting with and that has been very successful in the United States, something we call SHEIN Live, which is short form videos where users can engage with us on the video and they can make purchases via the SHEIN Live app. And we have a hostess who is now sort of internet famous, and she does these videos and the customers love them. They're talking all the time about the products and what they see, and she's offering various services. And that sort of interactivity, I think, is another way in which we can replicate features of the offline shopping experience online as a physical person. Like, hey, look at this. This is how it looks. This is how I touch it. What do you think? That really resonates with our customers. So those two, the SHEIN Live and the photo search, are two technologies that we've launched in the last year that I think are very, very exciting.
Yeah. I would have like one or two last questions on the supply chain side. So the small factories you're working with, or small mid-sized factories you're working with that are using your operating system to come up with like the garment, could they also sell at other platforms?
They do.
Like,
they do.
Okay.
Yeah, they're non-exclusive. So we obviously, we really like our suppliers, and we've spent, in some cases, 10 or more years in partnership with them, but we do not have exclusive contracts. So if they wanted to make goods for other companies, other producers, or sell on other platforms, they're free to do so.
And can you control, because it's like another part of the discussion, can you control that they don't copy styles from other brands, where other brands would come and say, okay, this is kind of a copycat, please take it down?
You know, I think that intellectual property protection is one of the pervasive and ongoing challenges that the whole industry faces. You know, any platform, any producer is going to run into these challenges. I think we are almost lucky in a way to have run into them early in our business, so that as we design and build out these systems, we can architect controls to try to prevent this. Two, I think that are worth discussing with your listeners is using generative AI to look at your product offering and compare it against a catalog or library of potentially infringing products. And because it's generative, it learns over time. It gets better and better and better at identifying potentially infringing products.
It's just like it should like come across like wrong. But is it even possible? Because when I'm looking at those infringement claims and I say, okay, here's like a style of like a special trouser from H&M, and here is like a. But for me, it looks like there's like 100 different styles of this trouser, like similar styles. We would say, okay, could be also the same. So is it even possible? So for me as a human, that's hard to do. Like,
yeah, exactly. I mean, there are always going to be these challenges, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't try our best to get them to zero. And I think using technologies like AI is helpful in that. I'll give you a specific example is, yes, okay, the architecture of your garments, there's only so many ways to make a pair of pants. But the patterns, if there's artwork, if there's specialized embellishment, if there are trademarks captured in the stitching, for example, those are all things that a human or an AI can detect and can surface. And so it's, again, lowering the risk to artists that their designs are stolen. And that's what we're trying to protect.
My last question is, are you wearing clothes from SHEIN?
Yeah, my t-shirt's actually SHEIN.
Okay.
So this is a SHEIN t-shirt, and I like it quite a bit. I'm a big fan of our basic white t-shirts. That's just because I'm a basic guy.
Let's see. I have also one last question, because we're already reaching our time limit. But I saw that you already grew and really extended also the product offering from fashion into home accessories, pet supplies, you name it. Like, there's a very broad range of additional categories. Which are the ones that grow the strongest?
So in 2023, our strongest growth signals were coming from a brand we have called Motif, which is, I would say, an up-leveled line geared towards older professional women. And this has things you could wear.
Older professional women?
Older professional women. So things you could wear to the office, or that you could wear to, a business meeting. That's been a huge growth category for us. I think the other one that's been really exciting is our pet line. So Petsin is our pet category, and we sell pet clothes. These have been very, very exciting. I did not know when I joined SHEIN that so many people wanted to dress in the same outfit as their pets, but apparently they do. And that's been a huge growth category for us.
And are the brands also considered brands outside of the SHEIN context? Are people searching for the brands on Google, for example, or Meta?
So it's more category search. I mean, they are sub-brands, but I don't think that they have as much brand identity.
Okay.
But they do have unique web domains.
Okay.
So, return customers may go directly to the Petsin domain, but often it's just through the main SHEIN app. You can access Petsin products through the main app.
All right. Alex, do you have one additional last question?
I'm still impressed because like this K5 conference where you spoke like last year, it's coming up like in 2 or 3 weeks, and it's pretty sure we're getting confronted. You'll be back too?
Yeah, we'll be in K5.
I'm pretty sure we're confronted with with Timo in the TikTok shop as we are like putting it all in one bucket in this discussions. I'm impressed. I have to say, though there's like unquestionable advantages of like the business model itself. So some of the savings you have like built in the business with the turnaround supply chain, it's like are making me question like the old business models of the retailers, of the Zaras. So okay, cool.
And I highly appreciate that you that we had the chance to meet you here in person, live at the OMR, and we wish you an exciting rest of the OMR festival.
And I do my homework on the marketing investment. Sorry if I mix it up with like Timo numbers. Maybe I was wrong here.
No, I think it's A, it's been great to be here with you guys, and B, this is a conversation, and we're happy to be a part of the conversation. There are things we do well and things we're still learning to do, but overall, I'm really excited about the business, and it's great to chat with smart folks who are paying attention to the broader industry.
Thank you, Peter.
Thanks, Peter.
Really great.
All right.